we're going to talk
She's
about
working
Dolly
9 to
Parton.
5.
Yes. So it says, Dolly Parton just turned down her Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination. I really do feel out of place talking about this because I know very little about Dolly Parton, other than she's a
You're
great...
going to do great. You know more than you think you
I
do.
know that she's a philanthropist, that she's big into giving back to charity,
And you
and
know
stuff
that she
like
was a country music star.
And I know that she was a country music star. I know that she's very proud of her plastic surgery. I think that's like she owns
She's
it.
so funny about how like her aesthetic.
Yeah. So I there's like she gives off like cool grandma vibes to me. Like very, very cool. Like she's like what happens when the cool aunt keeps getting older.
Yeah.
Maybe like the wine aunt that just keeps getting older. So it says, country legend Dolly Parton just withdrew her name from consideration for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the most polite way. After being nominated for induction in the prestigious institution, Parton took to Instagram to share why she must respectfully decline. Dolly here, she wrote in an Instagram statement posted on Monday, March 14th, even though I am extremely flattered and grateful to be nominated, I don't feel I have earned that right. So why do you think that is? Do you think that's because she's not a rock musician?
I mean, we'll get into this, I'm
Okay.
sure, but like she has turned down quite a number of awards.
Yes, we've got that article as well.
It gives me hope. She hasn't said that she is aware that like being obsessed with celebrity culture is not necessarily the center of the universe,
Maybe
right?
because her godchild is Miley Cyrus and she saw what happened.
Well, I think that would have been to like, if she were to head something off the past, maybe
Yeah.
that's when she would have discouraged her parents from doing that. But
Parton continued, I really do not want votes to be split because of me. So I must respectfully, but like she's even thinking of other people when she's doing this. Is I really do not want votes to be split because of me. So I must respectfully bow out. I do hope that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will understand and be willing to consider me again if I am ever worthy. This has, however, inspired me to put out hopefully a great rock and roll record at some point in the future, which I have always wanted to do. Isn't Jay-Z in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
yeah, they have I think a couple different people that you wouldn't necessarily think of.
Maybe they produced music that goes against genre, like maybe genre, like rock and roll is just being taken as like it's like the music, the general music Hall of Fame now. She also cites her husband's love of the genre, a rare peak at her marriage, which you had mentioned to me before. She's very, very protective of.
She's extremely private about her. I think her husband, like people know his name and they know he maybe works in construction. He's never appeared with her publicly. Last year, I think, or maybe earlier this year, she tweeted a photo of them and it was a huge deal, but it was actually a picture of like her looking at the camera and like arm length with the back of his, and he was wearing one of her new t-shirts. Like, they are extremely intentionally private.
Oh my god, that's what Taylor R did in the beginning when she didn't want to reveal what Tom looked like.
Yeah, I think especially it's interesting to have celebrities that have a partner that's not involved and also not seeking to become involved in any publicity. And I think that might affect how they view these kinds of opportunities to be recognized. Like, she doesn't need it. Maybe she's validated and comfortable in other ways.
There's a YouTuber. She's like an Instagrammer. I've mentioned her on here before. Her name's Sheena Melwani. She does that. She had this like really viral series of videos where she'd perform pop songs, and her husband would like yell at her off camera, like interrupting the performance as it was going on. And his name's The Real Indian Dad. They have kids, so but people thought it was her dad that was interrupting because like he would make jokes about like going to go to college, like and stuff like that. And he when he finally started to appear on camera, he does that. They do the thing where he has like the animation face over him, and like they're like, when we get to 1 million followers, we'll do a face reveal. And she's at like 1.7 million now. They're like, we still got to find the perfect way to do it because I don't think they ever thought that she would get that famous. But now she's at like almost 2 million followers, and they're like, the guy doesn't. But he's got his own channel. He's really funny. So he's got his own channel where he does all this comedy stuff, but he's either holding the camera at other people and talking, or when he's on camera, he's got this animation over his face. And I don't think he ever wanted to, because he has like a regular job. He's like a banker or something like that, I'm sure. Something where like he just didn't feel like it would change. And he didn't want the scrutiny. So yeah, I'm sure the picture's out there. Like if you know her real name, it's not that hard to find it.
And I think for so many people, like the reality that some people don't want to be famous, that their privacy is more important to them than being well known. Like this is actually something people struggle with, because
this isn't fame, but I didn't want to do this show.
Yeah, you were extremely. I always promote my like social media at the end of this, but it's still something I struggle with. Like it was difficult to decide that I was going, and I'm not even a big deal. Like just having your face and stuff out there regularly, like
because like you said earlier, you can't take it back. Once
can
you
never
do it,
take
it's
it back.
It's a genie you can't put back in the bottle.
Exactly.
And I had built a strong enough following through skating, but that's different. It's not the same thing. That's more of a community than an industry.
And it's something that like you can sort of like perform tricks or you cannot,
Yes.
versus being like, here are my thoughts and my
Yes.
opinions on things. Like that is a different kind of exposure.
when people
Not that it's not serious and like
when people are like if people have negative takes on my skating, I'm confident in what I can do. I'm like, I don't care. But if somebody has negative takes on your opinion on something, it's a lot harder to reconcile that in yourself, because I would say that a smart person is never 110% sure of himself. So you should always be at least a little bit weary of being
there's some studies that say people who are like overconfident and totally sure of themselves are actually very foolish, and people who are wise are the ones who like take a step back to consider.
well, I'm constantly I don't think I'm wise either, but I'm constantly, like, it's just that I think that's
You're
just
aware.
part of like of not being 110% sure about everything, because I constantly want to be able to evolve.
Yeah.
But I have my own views. So but you
But
said,
I sent you this Dolly Parton. I actually sent you, I think, the next one you're bringing up.
Yes.
Because we talk a lot about how award shows are maybe dying out and why that would be. Like, do we want them anymore? And it is interesting to have a celebrity who is undeniably successful. Dolly Parton has been in, she's successfully acted. She's had a very serious musical career, performance career. She owns Dollywood. She has a nonprofit foundation that it's promoting children's literature that she is deeply involved in, and she doesn't just turn down some opportunities to be recognized. She seems to consistently turn them down, and it comes back to this thing, like, if you are good at what you do, and if you are truly like pursuing philanthropic interests, like, do you need to be recognized for
Yeah.
it? And Dolly Parton does not seem to need it.
so it says, welcome to Dolly wouldn't. That's clever. Saying no is an important skill many of us learn throughout our lives. We've been teaching Miracle how to say no today, off air, about something completely different. But you have to learn how to say no about stuff. It's part of life. So it says, Miracle's like, Dolly Parton definitely understands the power of a polite thanks, but no thanks. Of course, why would the Queen of Country Music? Of course, when you're the Queen of Country Music, the things you say no to are fairly on a fairly epic scale. From declining a chance to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show to turning down the nation's highest civilian honor. Now, don't get us wrong, Dolly has graciously accepted countless awards and honors throughout her career, including 10 Grammys, 4 American Music Awards, and 2 Guinness World Records, to name just a few. But some honors she did pass on opportunities that most mere mortals would probably have jumped at. And that's not that Parton isn't grateful for being honored. Far from it. Friends and fans who have met the country icon over the years, like this today's staffer, have reported that she's unfailingly kind and humble, but as a certified national treasure, Parton can afford to be picky. So she's when you've accomplished that much. So she turns down Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Parton was among a long list of music legends like Carly Simon, Beck, Duran Duran, nominated in 2022 for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. About a month after those nominees were announced, Parton said she was bowing out of consideration. Even though I'm extremely flattered and grateful to be nominated, so we talked about that quote before, she turned down a statue in her home state of Tennessee. In early 2021, Dolly Parton asked the Tennessee legislature to cancel the plans to build a statue of her at the state capitol in Nashville. The country icon said that while she was humbled and honored that the lawmakers wanted to celebrate her with a statue, she said she didn't feel comfortable being elevated in that way in the current climate. That is beautiful. That is honestly beautiful. Given all that is going on in the world, I don't think that putting me on a pedestal is appropriate at this time, she wrote.
And I also think that it's important to note, so she did a lot of work early pandemic when school shut down. Like, she started doing, like, on YouTube, she would do story hours. This has been like a pet passion of hers. And I can see where this is like, no, I just do it because it's the right thing to do. But also, like, please do not use me as your PR savior. Like, I'm from Tennessee. Focus on the things that you guys need to focus on. Don't be like, look, we're honoring someone you like.
Yeah.
Yep. So it says she turned down the Super Bowl halftime show. The country legend confirmed that Perry invited her to join her in the show. Katy Perry invited her to join her on the show, and she said no. But it was for a sweet and completely understandable reason. She said that she needed to care for her husband of more than 50 years, Carl Dean, who was ill at the time. I would have done it because I love Katy Perry, but at the time, my husband was not doing good. Parton said in a video for GQ, he was kind of what's this?
He was kind of puny.
Is that really the right context to use for that word?
I think it's just like he wasn't doing so well.
Okay.
Like Southern language.
Okay, so I couldn't do it. But one of these days, maybe we'll do it again. I love her. I do think this is the first thing I think of when I think of all this. I'm like, this is what Madonna could be if Madonna was a little bit more like a.
But I think she needs the
Yes.
It's interesting that Dolly Parton, you know, she did take the Grammys and do whatever. Like she was awarded for her work, but in this case, it's kind of interesting that she's like, I don't need to just be given honorifics.
Yes. So it says the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice. Parton has turned down the Presidential Medal of Freedom not once but twice. The Trump administration apparently attempted to give her the award on 2 occasions, but she declined both times due to health and logistical concerns. I couldn't accept it because my husband was ill, and then asked if they asked me again, but I told them I wouldn't travel because of COVID. She said in an interview today. I love how like she's like every time now she could just be like, my husband was sick. Like she's
and some people would be like, yeah, leave him at home. I'm going to get the presidential honor. She's like, nope, my husband's my priority, which I really respect.
It's a beautiful thing. Sharing a song with Elvis Presley. For many artists, having Elvis Presley record one of their songs would have been a dream come true. However, when Presley asked Parton if he could sing her 1974 hit single, I Will Always Love You, she turned him down. It was nothing against the king personally, but more a business decision. So she's strong on her business motives too. It says, I'd been invited down to the studio to meet Elvis and be there when he sang my song. That was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me. Who doesn't love Elvis? Parton recalled to the UK's The Big Issue last year. However, Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, is that right? Colonel Tom Parker? Did I say that right?
Colonel.
Okay. Called Parton and the afternoon before the recording session with some unexpected news. Presley's team would not record anything without getting 50% of the royalties. Parton also talked about the encounter on a podcast with Reba McEntire. I said, well, that throws a new light on this, Parton told McEntire. Parton told McEntire?
There's no space. It's a typo.
Parton told McEntire, because I can't give you half the publishing. I'm gonna leave that to my family. So she's like she's very polite. She's very firm. She's like she could teach a class in how to be polite and firm about like how to turn things down, because that's not easy to do for a lot of people. I'm far too agreeable in most cases. Like maybe I could learn a lesson. Riding her own,
and like the way she treats people is significant. I don't know if you saw like the last paragraph is like when he gets divorced, he sang this song as they walked out of the courthouse. Like, he doesn't have any hard feelings for Dolly. He still likes the song. So she turned down not wanting to ride riding her own rides at Dollywood. I imagine that'd be funny if she's like, well, those things are a death trap. Yeah.
Is Dollywood?
Like, I don't even like roller coasters.
Is Dollywood still around?
Yeah, no, it's totally up and running. I have always wanted to go. It's in North Carolina, I believe.
Do you want to buy tickets?
Let's all go.
I don't ride the rides. I never have. She told the New York Times in 2019. I have a tendency to get motion sickness. Also, I'm a little bit of a chicken. Like even when she turns, she's so.
No, read her next slide. That's my other favorite.
With all my hair, I got so much to lose, like my wig or my shoes. She added, "I don't like to get messed up. I'm gonna have some handsome man mess it up. I don't want some ride doing it."
Yeah.
So she's very classy and very funny. Very good. So a guest spot on Drew Paul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
Parton is known for her support of the drag community. She once even entered a Dolly Parton drag queen lookalike contest and lost. I remember wasn't there a story of like Elvis entering an Elvis lookalike contest and lost or something?
There's been
like
a couple of them.
Okay,
yeah.
so she turned that down. The Glastonbury Festival. There's all sorts of stuff here. She turned down getting coronavirus vaccine before everyone else. So she's kind of a saint. In a way.
Yeah, I thought you would like her. I know you may not be a country music fan, but when I first started being on the show, we talked about Nice Keanu all the time, and someone who is famous and successful and talented, who also is still choosing to do good and do the right thing.
I think it was more just like, I think Keanu fit more with how I felt this podcast was going at the time. Now I'm kind of more happy to branch out and do other stuff.
I like Nice Keanu, but like, no, I think, we talked about him because we talk about current events, and there were a couple things that had happened. Like, I'm not saying
that
just
was
like
during
him.
the Matrix. That was during when the promotional push. For Matrix
Well, and I think
was
with this podcast, we often like to be like, these are people, as much as we're like, why are they acting this way? We like to have people on who are like, they are cool. They behave in a way that we think culture should emulate.
I keep my eye out consciously for good news as well these days. I do want to point
Like
before
the Chilean.
like the Chilean president getting gifted a Squirtle Pokemon from the Japan. Yeah. So I've got this last article. It's just other bands that had turned down Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, usually for far less cool reasons. This is usually like making some political statement. So the Sex Pistols, and I was like, I swear my brother told me about like Guns N' Roses and the Sex Pistols turning it down like back when I was a kid. So these are, it's not always the band. It's like a member of the band. Paul McCartney turned it down. It says when the Beatles were inducted into the inaugural Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '88, not all the surviving members of the iconic band would attend. George Harrison and Ringo Starr would arrive at the show without Paul McCartney. The singer boycotted the event of the result of ongoing business disputes. After 20 years, the Beatles still have some business differences, so he's had problems with the other members. Pink Floyd, Neil Young. I didn't understand this one because I don't know. It says Neil Young is no stranger to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was more than happy to be inducted for being a solo artist back in '95. On top of that, he inducted 5 other members. But when Buffalo Springfield was inducted into the club in '97, he refused to attend. Which he said was to do with the event televised. The presentation is in direct opposition to what I believe, Young wrote. Although I accept the honor in the name of rock and roll, I decline to take part in this TV presentation and to be trotted out like some cheap award show. There are already too many of these. So there's a guy who got the. I don't understand what that means. What that has to do with Buffalo Springfield, though. So, but there's Ozzy Osbourne did the same thing for Black Sabbath, but then he recanted and then went through it. He's like, it's not my job to speak for the whole band.
Yeah.
So I just thought this was interesting. So there's a history of people being like, we don't want your award, but for less cool reasons than Dolly.
That's true.
So yes, that was very interesting. She turned down a lot of stuff.
She did.
A lot of stuff.
And also, Hannah Claire, we have to make we have to reserve a ticket within 45 days in advance. And then an average ticket, so 1 day ticket is like $84, but a 2-day ticket pass is like $104.
Okay.
And it's starting from the age range 10 to 61.
Okay. Well, we'll talk logistics after the show.
Yeah.
Figure out our Dollywood trip. Maybe we can write it off as a business expense.
We could do. Yeah, we'll do a Dolly. Oh, you guys can do this. I'm not good.
Brett's coming with us. Dolly Parton's number one fan.
I don't do roller coasters either.
Well, they have.
So neither does Dolly, and so you can still come.
Well, Brett.
In the spirit of Dolly, I can go and not ride the rides.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, hear me out. There's a free pre-K Imagination season pass just for you. And there's bumper cars that are shaped like frogs.
They also have like food and all kinds of stuff. I think there's a lot of live music, so something for everyone in the family.
Exactly.
Perfect. We'll work on that. We'll find out how we're gonna do this show for 5 days in a row and be at Dollywood at the same time. We'll have to do the show at Dollywood.
We
can do it on your off day. But yeah. Oh my gosh, let's do it live from Dollywood.
We should do it on Thursday because Thursday is technically our Friday.
Yes.
We film it there and then we return Sunday morning.
We got to get to North Carolina first somehow.
Don't worry, we're going to do it. No, car.
Oh.
How far is North Carolina?
I want to say because I don't like giving away our location on.
I'll switch it.
But it's not far.
Fair enough. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.